Friends, welcome in as we continue our FIFA 2026 World Cup coverage. I'm Alex Parra. We are literally live right now here on the Deportes Nation across different platforms, and we are celebrating, many of us, day number 2 and this amazing victory, the U.S. national team 4-1 over Paraguay. So thanks to all of you that are joining us. A lot less of me, I'm hoping, this evening. And why don't we get to the big guns, if you will? The one and only being with me right now, we bring in the one and only Mr. Victor Araiza. First of all, Victor, good evening. How are you, sir? And wow, what a start for the U.S. men's national team in this World Cup. First of all, good evening, Victor. How are you?
Good evening, Alex. Always a pleasure to be on here. And certainly with this time of year, a World Cup we've been so eager to receive and to enjoy in the United States. And I think certainly for the host country, the big question was going to be, with all the eyeballs on this team, how were they going to perform? And I don't think they could have done it better than what they did tonight. Amazing.
And actually, Victor, I'm trying to do the social media so we can get as many of you on as possible with us. But what an amazing first step to this World Cup for Pochettino and the rest of the team. We will analyze it here shortly, Victor. A lot to go through. We'll also talk about another match that took place. The 3 CONCACAF nations now, Mexico yesterday, Canada earlier today in Toronto, and the United States playing, at least the 3 host nations, I should say. Victor, I think without a doubt, out of the 3 teams we've watched, 4 goals, the most in World Cup history for the United States. Is this a memorable moment? I know we're just digesting it. I know we're still feeling the impact of 3 goals and an own goal to start, but it was a dominant performance by the United States this evening. I think that goes without saying. But your thoughts are early on as we try to bring the rest of the people that are following us in, please.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was dominant by the United States. I think there was questions about what Paraguay would be. Certainly, the U.S. has had a favorable history with Paraguay, I should say. But, you know, once the lights of the World Cup are on, it's a different story, right? And certainly what you just mentioned, the host nations, I think we were seeing a trend where the pressure of being the host was kind of, it did bring some nervousness there to guys. Even experienced guys. We saw it with Mexico. We saw it with Canada earlier today. I was wondering if that was going to happen a bit with the U.S. Maybe they took a lesson from seeing their counterparts, how they performed. Javier Aguirre, the manager of Mexico, said it yesterday. We should have had 4 goals. This should have been a bigger victory. The fans have a right to complain or boo if that is indeed what they were doing, because we should have been better on the attacking front, right? But in the end, Mexico overcame. I think, maybe some of their naturalized players like Julián Quiñones and Álvaro Fidalgo, you could see a little bit more calm presence, maybe because they, the naturalization worked in their favor, right? That they weren't as nervous. I'll take it to Canada earlier today. I know we'll get to that game. But that's a game that could have gotten away from the Canadians. And certainly they were able to at least salvage a point there. With the U.S., they got rocking early. They looked confident. We've talked about, or everybody has talked about, this talented pool of players. And it does leave a different feeling than previous World Cups, because it does feel like it is a talented generation. It does feel like they have a higher ceiling to achieve great things in this World Cup. And certainly, look, with all the stars in LA that were there for the game, again, I don't say it lightly. The U.S. lived up to the moment. They looked like a top team. And I know it's game 1, but we'll see how far they go. And at least on night 1, most of their stars, look at all the people that scored or were involved around the goals. They came to play, and it doesn't matter in what form they arrived. They showed their quality tonight.
Absolutely, they did, Victor. And, it's game 1, but you want to start game 1 like this. And I guess it's a balance. We've seen this in many tournaments, not only World Cups, Victor, but it's great to have a solid beginning, a good start. Maybe not over-deliver initially, because now the expectation, looking at it on the flip side, and I still think we need time here to enjoy and digest the 4-1 victory and the 3 points to lead Group D. But then now you're setting yourself up for what? For a continued run through the group. So it's about managing it. One of the questions we have, Victor, in many ways, and we'll get into the match. And friends, any of you that are watching us, questions, comments, please send them. And we really appreciate you watching us. We're live here, a few minutes removed from the United States victory in this 2026 World Cup. Victor, is Christian Pulisic, who was pulled at halftime, and there's conversations about whether or not that was tactical, whether or not that was preventative. We'll be watching here, and if you, friends, find out before we do what Pochettino says about Pulisic, that may be the only negative, Victor, in tonight's game, if in fact it's injury related at all, and I'm speculating.
Yeah, I don't think it's a negative. I'll tell you why. Because I think the U.S. had that game handled, and if Pulisic has even a slight of a knock, or he's nursing, because again, how many players are really 100%, right? After a long European season, any season even. I mean, I think it's hard for any player to arrive 100%. I know maybe the focus on some of the guys that were recently injured, like a Chris Richards. But I think even a guy like Pulisic, he's got some miles from the season. They're not going to be fully 100%. And for that reason, I think he had a great first half. If you can rest him, if you can keep him healthy throughout the tournament, because that's a player that non-negotiable. You need him. You need him to be on the field. What were they up 3-0 up against Paraguay? They had the game handled. They should have been able to see it out with the rest of the players. And that's exactly what they did. Even when Paraguay pulled one back, the U.S. was in full control. They saw it out, and they didn't need to keep Pulisic on. Look, if Pulisic would have been on for the second half and he got injured, we would have been talking about, what was Pochettino doing, et cetera, et cetera.
There will always be criticism, whether you win or lose. But tonight, a lot of smiles. Tonight, a lot of support in the many watch parties that are going on, not only in Houston and Texas, but throughout the United States. I got a different vibe, a very positive vibe, Victor. On the field, I saw the control for the United States, other than maybe the first 2 minutes of the match. And if Paraguay scores something early, it changes potentially the rhythm. But the United States, to me, were playing free. We're playing so comfortable, Victor, in creating opportunities. It wasn't like it was a dominant performance. It's what I'm trying to say in so many ways. And I don't know if Paraguay, like you mentioned earlier in the broadcast this evening, we didn't know what we were going to get. Now we know. They came out with a little bit more energy, Paraguay did, in the second half, but it just wasn't their evening. Do you feel, Victor, then, and not knowing yet what's going to happen between Australia and Turkey, we need to see what that match will look like. But without a doubt, the United States with a solid performance. How long do you enjoy this, Victor, before you start thinking about the next match? Because this is important, I think, for the United States. It's important for this competition.
Well, I think we'll enjoy it. I think the team will enjoy it tonight, and they're going to focus on Australia, which is their next game in a week. In Seattle. But I think for the country, for all the fans, no, this is going to keep going throughout the week. This is great. This is a great vibe around this team. I think, again, we talked about it. Once the switch is on, right? Once it's World Cup time, everything up to this point and all the concerns and on all talking points, it doesn't matter anymore. It's what they do in these certainly in these three first games that they, in order to advance, and then going forward. Again, Pochettino knows what he wants to implement. I think we saw a lot of that tonight. Again, I think there's great hope for fans, for even casual fans that are watching this U.S. for the first time, maybe ever, but certainly I would think in a long time, maybe since the last World Cup. Eyeballs everywhere, and I think they got a good impression. This is the United States that played with confidence, that played with conviction, that played with a sense of urgency that we haven't seen, I think, in previous World Cups, right? It's always a game at a time, try to get out of the group. No, this United States team looked like they had it in their mind.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to go out there. We're going to get 3 points. We got eyes on first place. We need to advance in first place. we need to get as many goals as possible, why that Gio Reyna goal at the end of the game to make it 4-1 and to increase the goal difference. I think it's vital, but also on top of the feeling that it leaves. But I think this is the United States that they're going to want to wrap up this group sooner rather than later. They're not going to want to leave it up to chance against Turkey in the last game. I think we've all talked about the predictions of this, or the prognostication. In order for the United States to get as far as possible and have the best chance at, believe in whatever you want, whether they can win it or not, but they have to advance as first in the group. That would keep them on the West Coast for a long time until they eventually have to travel more inward into the United States for maybe up to the latter stages. So, and again, this is a longer World Cup than previous years. This is an extra knockout stage game, right? And going back to why Pulisic, you got to manage him. You got to keep players healthy. But absolutely, Pochettino has been battered, I think. Questioned, probably more so. And by fans, by the media. And I say that as a member of the press, who I'm all for holding people accountable. But I also think this is obviously a coach with a resume that has proven credentials, that was brought in to be the big name coach that live up to it, and to be able to manage some of these players that have played in the top leagues in the world. I think we're seeing the U.S. live up to it again for one match, and they should be able to manage Australia, because I think everybody would, not overlook them, but manage that game as well. If they were able to beat Paraguay tonight, we'll see what the game against Turkey ends up being. But this looks positive. This looks like they should be able to advance in first place, and people will definitely be excited.
I'm Alex Parra. Alongside me, the one and only Victor Araiza. Thanks to all of you that are following us. We're on live talking about day number 2 of the World Cup. We are talking clearly about the United States victory tonight at Los Angeles Stadium. Some of us know it as SoFi. Beautiful stadium, by the way. I've been there a couple of times, and every seat in the house is amazing. And by the way, unlike in Houston and in Dallas, there's no... The breeze comes through. It's naturally cooled. That's why I guess it's so amazing to live in Los Angeles. Victor.
Yeah, and it was a stadium that I think the United States had yet to win in. But again, this is one where you throw the book out the window. This is a fresh start. This is a different tournament now. And again, at least through game 1, you get a different feeling of what this United States team could do.
Absolutely. Victor, I want to introduce another important part of our broadcast today. My friend over here to the left, this is the official ball from the 2014 World Cup, Brazuca, just so you know. So we're going to be showcasing some of these, Victor. Not more important than you, so I don't want you getting offended, Victor.
That's okay. It's okay.
But my little guy will be beside me. Victor, help me out on social media.
The ball will get us more views.
Probably, right. And if we gave it away, even more views and interaction. We might talk about that, friends.
There you go.
Maybe we'll give away some of these as the tournament progresses. Victor, I don't mind us turning and looking. I grew up in the age where I didn't look at my phone constantly. But if any of you have questions or comments or interactions, we would love to hear from you. Victor, let's switch quickly to what happened earlier in Toronto, game number 3 of the tournament. I'm trying to get it right. Canada hosting, and initially it seemed like Canada were on a roll, dominating Bosnia and Herzegovina, finding a way to take the lead. I guess escaping with a point at home, positive for Canada, the first point ever in a World Cup, right, Victor?
Yeah, look, I don't know how much of that weighed on them. Certainly, 2 World Cup appearances all time for Canada. That the last one, the first one was way back, and obviously the last one was in Qatar. But in both of those instances, they failed to win a game in the group stage. So they were looking for their first victory, and certainly their first draw or first point. But again, I don't know how much of that was weighing on them. I think it had more to do with them being a host, them being at home, maybe that self-pressure, the nervousness, right? The butterflies of the moment. And look, Bosnia and Herzegovina was also returning to a World Cup. It was also emotional for those players, for that fan base. But again, I think, in my opinion, I saw Bosnia more, into the beginning of the game, obviously that led to the first goal. I didn't see a Canada that it certainly was not finding the back of the net, and it just seemed, they had some good opportunities, but it just seemed like they just couldn't convert them. And you wondered if that was just bad luck or if that was just poor quality. In the end, they were able to pull this one out. Kyle Larin gets the equalizer. I still think it's a bit of a missed opportunity because, again, your home soil. I don't want to overlook Bosnia and Herzegovina, but if you're Canada, I think you're probably happy that you get away with the point just because you didn't lose the full 3 points, and we'll see what the rest of it ends up being. Again, keeping in hindsight that as a third place you can still move on. So maybe it was too tall of a task to expect them to win the group, but I think they at least salvaged something. I'm not completely. And I'm not Canadian, so I'm neutral here. But for me, it's a bit of a wasted opportunity for Canada.
So let me ask you the day number 2 question. We know what happened with Mexico picking up the victory in, I still call it Estadio Azteca. It's hard for me not to call it that. We just talked about Canada getting the draw, and of course focusing on the United States victor and the 4-1 victory over Paraguay just a few minutes ago over in the West Coast in Los Angeles. Out of the 3 teams, I think to me it's clear after day 1 and 2, the USA is looking really good. And man, I want to bottle some of this up because you've got to pace yourself in this. But it's a quick snapshot of the 3 host nations. United States, without a doubt, I think with the best performance out of the 3. Question mark? That's to you.
Yeah, look, I think certainly if we just keep it to on the field, certainly that's the best performance. So we talked about, look, Mexico could have had an opening match like this. They didn't put their chances away, but I think it's also different settings, right? And granted, the U.S. hadn't, I believe, hadn't won at SoFi Stadium, but what is Los Angeles Stadium in this case? But it's also a reminder that, CONCACAF Nations League, Gold Cup, while they're important competitions, and I'm all for waving the CONCACAF flag, the World Cup is just a different beast, right? And I think, my concern, I'll go to the previous coach, Greg Berhalter, not that he wasn't able, but I think, again, it's different managing some of these regional competitions and going to the World Cup. Greg Berhalter had the success in these CONCACAF competitions, but when it came to the World Cup, and they had an okay World Cup in Qatar, but again, not dominant. They maybe had a chance to win that group, didn't take it, right? Didn't go for it, and all in that regard. And you saw what it meant in the knockout round, the way they went through. Now, in this case, we see Pochettino where maybe he doesn't have all the accolades regionally, right? And I know he only had about a year on the job, but there was a lot of questioning of Mauricio Pochettino, everything along the way, how he managed certain things, a misunderstanding, whatever. At the end of the day, again, right here, this is what you paid him for. This is where he needed to perform. Pochettino looks like the part. And again, it goes back to, I don't know how high the ceiling is for the United States, but you got to be thinking it's feasible to be thinking of going deep in this tournament. I know some people mentioned, you got to aim for at least semifinals. I think even maybe quarterfinals would be a success. It all depends, obviously, how these games go, right? Sure. If they go undefeated in the group stage and then they lose in the first match out, it leaves a different taste. But there is some potential here, and let's see, like you said, let's see if they can bottle it up and keep it going.
Victor, let's talk a little bit, and thanks to all of you that are joining us. We're live on different platforms, Deportes Nation, Soccer Texas. I'm Alex Parra, beside me, Victor Araiza, talking about day number 2 of this FIFA World Cup 2026. I think that's the official language. I want to make sure I start getting it right. Victor, the United States, one of the words I heard during the broadcasts from Stuart Holden was being brave this evening. And we've been around that word a lot in MLS and in soccer. I think they were brave. Where I was going, not so much about the word, Victor, but about the coverage. I watch coverage in English and Spanish. Give us your take on this. Several of our broadcast friends talk about how the Spanish language really is old school, and we can get into that or not. I'm choosing this World Cup right now. The better production to me has been English language Fox versus Telemundo.
Yeah?
And I don't want to, to me, I don't want to offend anyone. In the 2 days I've watched so far, and by the way, those hydration breaks are really commercial breaks now, right? We're going to see more of that, Victor.
Not on Telemundo. They keep the camera on.
Okay, there you go.
they have some in-game ads, and actually Andres Cantor, and I kind of love it. Indirectly taking a shot, saying, "Hey, look, we got sponsor keeping us on air because this game it doesn't stop, right? I mean, we're not cutting off to a commercial break here." Like that other station, right?
Like that. We can say it. We're independent, Victor. We can talk about Fox versus Telemundo. I think that's going to be a spicy little conversation, right? The rest of the way.
I disagree. I don't think it's a competition. I think Telemundo has a better coverage.
You mean production value, or do you mean because the production value of Fox is tremendous? I mean, you can have Thierry Henry and Zlatan and Alexi Lalas. I mean, that's an all-star cast just talking.
I'll give it to you on
we can
that.
break it down, and I know we will throughout the coverage. But please, sir,
on the guest comment, like a Zlatan and a Thierry Henry. But I think overall, Telemundo has the better effort. I'll be honest, I'm not watching a lot of the Fox coverage, so I'll take that with a grain of salt.
It depends who I'm with, Victor. If I'm more an English language family or group, that's where we go. And I guess it's more Spanish centric.
No, look, I try. We want to go down this. I try to give the Fox thing a chance.
The Fox,
maybe not fair. No, look, maybe not fairly, because I haven't really liked their coverage. I don't like a lot of their commentators. I think they take up a lot. They just scream and they just put noise on, and they don't really let the game breathe. And it's more of a spectacle. And if you want maybe an Americanized version of things, maybe that's the way to go for you. I don't know. I don't know if it's a soccer production per se. I think it's maybe they do approach it like if it's the NFL or Major League Baseball.
I agree. Yes. The storytelling, the pregame. Yes, sir. Yeah.
I don't like the cutting to commercial breaks. I think you can do an in-game commercial thing like Telemundo where you put a sponsor on the screen, but you don't cut away. That said, Fox paid big money to go get Zlatan and
Henry.
Thierry Henry, and then they also got Chicharito Hernandez.
And Alexi Lalas for not so much money, Lalas.
No, Alexi's there too. Donovan's one of the commentators. But all around, I don't know if I like the commentating teams. Again, I don't know if they have enough again, three. They're legends, right? Zlatan and Henry.
They are.
And Chicharito, if you're getting them on the Mexico games, I'll include Lalas in that. But that's a few people. I would. Yeah.
Forgive me, Victor. Look, I think coverage is interesting. I think English language coverage is driven by. Yes, let's replicate what we do with Major League Baseball. Let's replicate what we do with the NFL. And also, I'm going to say this, that our audience isn't as educated as Telemundo. Telemundo, again, day two, doesn't talk down to. I think Fox talks down to maybe over-explain and over try to present what many of us already know. Is that a fair comment? And
look, and I'll add a few more. I think they got Clint Dempsey, Carly Lloyd in there, and some of these are people that are already on the payroll, right? But again, and granted, I'm not giving them as much of a chance as Telemundo, but that's because I've already historically I know Telemundo is going to give me
they're going to get your
full-on
business.
soccer. full-on soccer, and again, it's I'm not saying diverse as inclusivity. I'm just saying diverse as far as like each team has a representative. It's not just they again, like today they had Roque Santa Cruz on the broadcast for Paraguay, or at least in some of the in-game or pre-game stuff. We'll give a knock to Telemundo. I don't understand Alejandro Bedoya. I think the that spot might be too big for him. I thought Tab Ramos was a better color commentator for the World Cup, but certainly for what he did in Qatar, and I think he would have been perfect here because he coached a lot of these players, and he would have been. Yeah, and he's a '94 World Cup player that could have brought it, from that angle of
he played
a World Cup being hosted in your own country.
Absolutely, yeah.
But they also, they got Guardado for the Mexico games. They got a good mix, right? And obviously they got some seasoned commentators. Like I said, I think production wise, I think it's full soccer. And again, it's energetic. It's an energetic broadcast, but it's not just screaming in your ear like John Strong. And I mean, different strokes for different folks, right?
That's one of the ways we can present it quickly, Victor. And if we have comments from any of you that are following us, we appreciate them. Victor, I love seeing something roughly in my notes, the 50th minute in the USA versus Paraguay match, when there was a review of a mistaken identity play. Initially on the field, we saw Tim Ream, the captain for the USA, get a yellow card after a tackle that was whistled. The VAR quickly changed that, and it was a dive, actually. The yellow card removed and given then to Miguel Almiron. Almiron, thank you. And I love that. What tone does that set? And I'm gonna go out on a limb now on teams like Argentina and others who are Brazil that are constantly diving. This to me says, be careful because the eyes are watching. Don't fake it. Don't take a dive. I love it personally, Victor.
Yeah, I'm all for taking the diving out of the game. Certainly that'll, there hasn't been any repercussions, not enough. So hopefully that changes it. But there are also a lot of rule changes here in this World Cup. So there's going to be a lot of different, the rule where you got to keep, players out about a minute, right, before they re-enter the match, that kind of stuff. So it might take some adjusting for some of these. But yeah, I'm all for taking some of this, over, what would you call it? Trying, win the game over with certain little tactics like those, right? Let the better team win, show it on the field. And again, when players are injured, and that's really what's bad about it, is that you're kind of taken away from those moments, right? It's like the boy who cried wolf, right? I'm all for less diving. I'm all for less trying to manipulate the referee.
I like that manipulation. Victor, let's talk a little bit about local here in Houston. And one of our great friends, Sam, sending us this video of, and you mentioned this yesterday in our coverage, the DR Congo team.
Yeah, they
arriving here and training here. This is their home base, right, Victor? Throughout the World Cup.
This is the home base, So this is where they'll call home. This is the only team we got to host. And by the way, great fashion sense there.
Look at those! Wow, I want one of those.
So, yeah, I'm excited to see what this turns out to be. Fans will be able to experience one of those open trainings.
Speaking of Victor, we're right on cue with our production. They're at what was called previously SaberCat Stadium. Now it's called Houston Training Facility, Houston Training Grounds. Everything's changed. FIFA's helped us change everything.
It's called something, but it's right there on Houston Sports Park. So I think this one's just stretching out. What I'm saying is that we'll see if they invite fans out. We've seen that. I think by FIFA, it's a rule they have to have an open training for the public. So we'll see when that happens. If I'm indeed correct on that, and I think that'll be a good moment. And that's part of the magic here of having a team hosted in your city. And we've seen this even in cities that aren't hosting World Cup games. With Chattanooga, Tennessee hosting Spain. Germany out at Wake Forest University, all around the country. And I think so that you're seeing part of the World Cup spread around to It's great to see.
It is great to see. Thanks again to our friend Sam. He's a journalist covering soccer and other sports, but we really appreciate him helping us with those videos. And as we get going, of course, it's so hard, Victor, to cover every game, every group, in every city. We'll have some more collaborations. Let's jump quickly, Victor, to maybe what's coming up tomorrow. Tomorrow, a full schedule of matches.
Yeah, now it begins.
Now it begins.
we got the inaugurations out of the way, all the concerts. Now it's 4 games a day. Let's go, baby.
What does it look like to you? What are you focusing on? I'm interested in watching Brazil. I think that that'll be an interesting match and see what they bring. And Australia, Turkey, relative to what will be going on in the USA group.
Yeah, absolutely. For the US group, that's one to look at. Obviously, Qatar and Switzerland, even though I think we got the wrong flag there. So don't get insulted,
okay.
Switzerland.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're going to talk to our production group. Yeah, that's not Switzerland. Wow. Yeah, well, I guess we need to double check that.
Maybe they'll be playing for Bosnia. But no, I mean, that's if you're in the Canada group. Look, 2 things here, right? Brazil, Morocco. If you're in Houston, it's only the first game, but this could very well already decide the group. And I think certainly if you're here in Houston, you're keeping your eyes on this game for the round of 32. It's likely that Brazil wins the group, right? And if they win the group, they could be heading here for that round of 32 game. Of course, I think they probably got to get that victory here tomorrow against Morocco. Otherwise, so that could throw in a wrench in people's plans. But I think people were probably looking at that game there just to see if they buy the tickets while they're still $1,000, right? And it's not 2, 3, or 4, because the Verde Amarela will certainly draw high ticket prices.
Victor, how are you seeing the tickets themselves? And here, friends, we're looking at the most updated standings that we have. I think we've got Switzerland right this time, so that's important. And the long way to go that we still have. This is very, very early on. But Victor, how are you seeing the ticket prices flowing as we get ready, by the way, for the first match that will be hosted in Houston, which will be this Sunday, Deutschland, Germany taking on Curaçao at Houston Stadium. I'm hearing and seeing, of course, on social media, all kinds of things about pricing. We saw some empty seats, if I'm not mistaken, in Guadalajara yesterday. And I think a few in Toronto, if I'm not mistaken. But again, this is just not direct information, and there's no statistics
story
on this. Yeah, a developing story. Thank you. Meaning none of this is confirmed. FIFA's not yet, as far as I know, talking about attendance.
Yeah, but I didn't think it was, or at least maybe on TV, it didn't look too empty. I know there's some pictures out there on social media. I don't know if that's, maybe during a halftime break.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but look, I think, first of all, no question, FIFA's trying to make as much money out of these games as possible. And there's been talk about, how the ticket distribution has been managed. I still think, and we could talk about if the ticket prices should be high or not. The lottery system, if that was effective, but I still think there is going to be all this demand, right? Listen, I understand in Qatar the tickets were cheaper and in other World Cups, but take something out of it. You're not factoring in having to travel, having to pay hotel, all that kind of stuff. You have it in your home country, and the U.S. is one of the countries with the most travelers to all these World Cups, right? Partly for the support of the U.S. team, but I think other nations as well. So now to have it in this country mostly, also Canada and Mexico, I think it was kind of, predictable. We knew these games were going to be in high regard. There's only X number of, look, for example, let's talk about Houston, the Germany game.
Yeah.
It's about 68,000 capacity. After you take out, families from players and coaches, and you take out all the dignitaries, and you take out
The media.
sponsors, and yeah, and in a couple sections that are not available, that would normally probably drive up the capacity to like 70,000, 72,000, because they're converted into basically a press area. All these things factor in. By the time is it really are really 68,000 tickets for sale for this game? I think it's more like 40,000, maybe even less, right? So that drives the supply even more. And look, then it's kind of like figuring out how much do you want to spend, right? I think it's ludicrous to hear some of these cases that like a local report about some guys spent like 20 grand for tickets. That's crazy for a group stage game, and if you're spending that much, you might as well buy a suite or get some of the hospitality tickets, right? Instead of getting the regular tickets, the all inclusive stuff. But look, I think at a certain point it is going to cost more than a couple $100. Yeah, about I think an average of $500, maybe more. I know some people, it depends on if you're willing to spend a couple more. I think there's fans that are still hoping to wait it out, and again, we talked about it in Houston, that Saudi Arabia Cape Verde game.
Yeah,
that's probably going to be the most accessible, and certainly as it gets closer to that game,
most accessible. I love the way you said that. You mean the least interesting,
the least expensive, yeah,
and the least expensive,
and the least in demand.
Yeah.
But let's go to the U.S. tonight. I think it was at least $1,000 to get into that game. But again, you're talking about the entire country of the United States. People that aren't, you're not talking just the diehard fans. You're talking about people just wanting to be there to take in the experience.
Well, look, let me put it another way, Victor. And I've tried. I've had nights when I'm like, there's no way I'm spending $5,000 a ticket to go see this. But you know what? The NBA Finals are going on, by the way. Everything's gotten more expensive. I live in my own little bubble, Victor, and you and I, as media members, I'll call you a journalist. I'm a media guy. We are spoiled that we're able to get in if we file the right and follow the correct process to get in. And I don't think twice about the access, because we've been very blessed to be in this profession. But most people that are spending tickets, everything's escalating. It's no longer what it used to be, that you could go to a World Cup, right, even and make it a family or an accessible ticket. But the demand is there. It's what we're seeing. I think tonight's USA victory is only going to continue to escalate.
And the demand's only going to continue because
exactly,
this is contagious. People are going to want to be at these games. They're going to want to experience the World Cup. Certainly, if your team goes deeper in the tournament. And look, not a lot has been said about the diehard fans. There are some fans, I think some U.S. supporters that got tickets for $60 for being part of the supporters group and something like that. Now they probably had to commit to potentially buying much more expensive tickets. But look, it's all part of it is if you have the money to spend it, right? I mean, it's kind of like gambling. Like you don't want to tell people, hey, listen, it's a must go. Like if you don't have the money and you can't, there's Fan Fest, there's all these other things to experience the game, right?
Yeah.
But for example, the game in Mexico City, Mexico's becomes the third time they host an opening match. A once in a lifetime experience. I go back to it. It's easy to say 80,000 tickets, but cut that in half from the teams, the staff, all the tickets that they get, the sponsors, FIFA, the legends, everything. I don't blame people if they have it and they can spend $3,000 or upwards on a ticket, and it's their lifetime experience. And it's again, once in our lifetime, I think. Probably not going to happen again for at least another few decades.
Yeah.
And if it's important to you and you want to have that experience of being there, for what that match was, for the magic that you saw it transmitted through the television. Imagine what it was like being there.
Once in a lifetime.
I've seen people from Houston. I've seen several people from Houston be there for that game. A couple local celebrities too, Bon B, Hector Herrera among them. But again, I've seen some people that I've known from Houston. It was important for them to be there. Down in McAllen, there was a report of again, a couple of local fans, and I think you'll have that from all. I'm sure there was people from Dallas. I'm sure there's people from out in California, from the East Coast, from all over the world, wanting to be at that game. And again, when you consider that, because again, it's the most popular sports in the world. This isn't like the Super Bowl where it's like you got to be an NFL fan to want to experience this. This is global. This is the entire world, and you only have 80,000 tickets.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be hard to come by.
Absolutely, absolutely. And look, Victor, one more thing on the ticket pricing, and we thank all of you that are following us. I'm Alex Parra, beside me, Victor Araiza. We're talking the ticket pricing for the World Cup right now. What are your thoughts? Of course, we'll be having coverage nightly, daily throughout the tournament. We will certainly get into it. Victor, I look at it this way too. We just talked about the NBA Finals. There are Knicks fans that will travel anywhere and pay anything right now to be in that
there's
stadium.
long life Knicks fans
Right?
that say, "Hey, listen, the last time
This
we
is
won
it.
it was '78,
Exactly.
and if this is the one, maybe they're willing to part with 10 grand for, again, it
Absolutely.
depends what it means for everybody, right? Some people are fine with just being around the watch parties and maybe the parade if indeed they end up completing it.
Yeah, Victor, like we spoke yesterday, and forgive me for interrupting you, sir. I think this World Cup lends itself to all of that you can have the in-stadium experience. You can have the Fan Fest experience. You can have the I'm alone in my hotel room experience, if you choose that. You can be with family and friends. You can be with literally the opponent. If you're, let's say tonight, USA and a family or a group from Paraguay, and what that feels like and the emotion of it. Or you can also be the casual fan. There are many friends, and I have some friends, believe it or not, that texted me tonight, hey, 2 goals, and at halftime, 3 goals. That's the most goals I've watched in a U.S. soccer game ever. Because they're not, fans per se on a daily or on a nightly basis. So that's the beauty of this. And again, yes, we all make choices. Some people say, this is where I want to spend my money. One of my favorite bands is touring again, Rush. The tickets are available. And people will pay whatever it takes to be in that stadium, in that arena, to experience a band like Rush. And those are the choices people make. Do I wish it was more accessible? Yes, but by the same time, more accessible also means there's still going to be a limited amount of tickets. Many of us will not be at every match because it's impossible. So I guess we always talk about this, Victor, in our conversations, the balance of how this shakes out.
Yeah, and again, I think it's hard, right, to put it in context because it's the world's most popular sport. I go back to that, and again, there's only so many amount.
Yeah.
And I think maybe what people would have liked was cheaper tickets from the start, right? But again, they would have found themselves to the resale market, and then they would have still been pricey to get in, anyways. Yeah, I guess it's at least to get a chance to get him at a lower face value, right? I guess that's so. I kind of, I could agree with that, but I think again, it's the game is too popular now. I mean, this is a juggernaut. It's not what it was in ¡94. It's not even what it was in 2010 or 2014. And I think again, maybe people underestimate what it means to come to the United States or Mexico or Canada. But listen, I think the most important thing is find a way to experience it, have your own environment. Again, if it means that much to you, again, tonight on Facebook, I think something else popped up. An old friend of mine, he was at the U.S. game. I wrote a paragraph about when he was 3 years old and
awesome.
Became a fan, and this is a dream, right?
That's awesome.
And so for a lot of people, it will be that way. Everybody will experience it differently, but again, I'll say this, because I think maybe the ambiguity is also in all the resale sites and who can I trust and where can I actually get tickets? How does this work? I think it's, at this point, the last minute sales on FIFA, that's pretty much over and done with. There's very little to even find there, I think, unless it's just not a popular game. I think the FIFA resale on the FIFA website is probably your best bet. And you're just going to have to, kind of, if you don't have tickets at this point, right, try to find something that's a little bit of a better value and snag them when you can. Otherwise, there's a reason why people try to buy these ahead of time. And, again, for a lot of people, I don't see a lot of complaints of, man, this game didn't live up to it or this or that.
Not yet, but we will have. Look. Tonight we're as we wrap up, Victor. We are looking in the United States for sure into this amazing 4-1 victory of the United States and what that means not only to the national team, not only to the sport in the United States, what it means to the tournament. There are going to be some games that are not as attractive and certainly not as viewed and interesting as this match was. And there are going to be others that are even better and more thrilling that we wish we were at. It's hard to predict, but there are some matches, Victor, that we know just don't have that kind of quality or maybe that drama.
Can you go back to the slate from the games tomorrow? I know we got
yes, sir. We have a little typo there, but I'll
I know we have to
yes.
apologize to Switzerland again.
Yes.
But let me circle one for you. Haiti against Scotland tomorrow.
Interesting, huh?
Haiti ends a 52-year drought at a World Cup. You think the Haitian fans, and certainly I didn't know this, but I just from reading, apparently this game is going to be in Boston, and apparently there's a huge Haitian population up there on the East Coast. You have to think, whatever it costs to get in for this game. I mean, this is going to be history. Some people are going to not be that what's the word I'm looking for, disappointed maybe with parting with a couple $100 or whatever they did to get in there.
Sure.
Because what it means for Haiti, and then also what it means for Scotland, who's also returning to the World Cup, I believe since France 1998.
Wow.
So while again maybe they're not as accessible as tickets as they could be, you're going to see it's going to be packed tomorrow at that up there, Boston Stadium, normally Gillette Stadium, right? The home of the Patriots, New England Revolution. So, and listen, I'll be, if I'm corrected and if half empty stadium, then I'll say, hey, they got it wrong.
Yeah,
but
I doubt that.
Tells me it's going to be packed.
Yeah, I doubt that. And yes, we send our apologies to Switzerland. We'll get that flag corrected there. Victor, we've got to go. But first of all, thank you for being with us. Thanks to all the friends that are following us. We will continue our nightly coverage. Send us, by the way, throughout the day, comments, questions, things we can talk about. Tomorrow, obviously, we'll talk about all these matches. And also, we'll talk about what's coming up Sunday. Maybe, Victor, that's a good way to wrap up. Sunday, our first game here in Houston, what that means to the city, we'll talk about tomorrow. But as we go, so some final words for this evening. A big night for the United States, a very positive night, I believe, all the way around for the United States as a country, for the tournament itself, and I think it's making it. There's that hope there that maybe something goes beyond just getting out of the group stage and round of 32, etc. The ingredients are coming together for the U.S. team. I'll give you the last word.
No, absolutely. I couldn't have put it better myself. But everything you just said, I agree.
Wow, I like that. That makes it quick. There's nothing else to talk about then. Friends, we've got to go. We really appreciate all of you that have taken the time to follow us on the different social media platforms. Please, we'll be here throughout the tournament. We want your interaction. We want your questions. We also want your thoughts. And maybe we will, Victor, and see if our producer can get this shot. Maybe we'll talk about distributing some of these little friends if people are up for it. But friends, on behalf of Victor Araiza, I'm Alex Parra. Thanks also to most of our production group. We'll have to talk to the graphics guy to see if he can help us with Switzerland.
Send them to a geography class.
That's right. That's one of the things we've got to do. So on behalf of all of us, friends, I'm Alex Parra. We appreciate you being with us. Have a great evening and keep going. We'll call this, let's see, our live at night World Cup coverage. I like that for now. Tomorrow that may change anyway. Victor, have a great evening. Friends, have a great evening. I'm Alex Parra. Until next time, good night.